The Board of Voter Registration and Elections are always looking for ways to increase voter registration and increase voter turnout. And in our community, we have partnered with some of our civic organization and some of our social organization to help us educate our voters on the importance of voting.
We partnered with the Beaufort County Board of Registration and Election in this project. One of the things that we observed in South Carolina is that, like in other parts of the country, not as many people who should be are registered to vote and involved in the election process. So we took a look at young people in particular and how did they get involved with voting, and decided we'd start there rather than to start voter registration with older adults. So we started working with young people, particularly those ages 16 and above, and educate them about the voting process and what it means to vote and how voting impacts your life. And in doing that, we partnered with the Beaufort County Board of Registration and Elections.
You know, is this something that we can make a difference? It's important to us to make a difference in our community. There are a lot of problems out there, and we want to do our fair share of making a difference. That's the main thing that we want to do as this organization.
And we went into 2 middle schools this year, and we went through the whole process of voting, from registering to vote with a voter registration deadline, issuing voter registration cards, and this was all done with the school guidance counselor.
So as school counselor, I'm also the advisor for the leadership groups. And for student government this school year, I wanted to involve the whole school and give a real life experience about voting.
You know, voting is like democracy in action. That's how we, even the playing field, a level of playing field here in America. So that's your one voice, but bringing many voices together, you have the opportunity to bring change. So we want to make sure our students had the opportunity to see how that actually all works.
The students, they really got involved. Most of them were nervous, and we actually ran a registration process. So we sat up in our cafeteria maybe for about 2 weeks, and the students were able to come over and visit the table and actually fill out a voter registration card, is what we called it.
This is an enlarged version of the voter registration application. At the top it says, are you a student at Robert Smalls International Academy? The student would check yes or no. If yes, will you be between 4th and 8th grade on election day? And at the bottom, they will need to review all the information that they filled out, and if it were true to the best of their knowledge, they would sign it.
They brought in 4 machines, and they set up in classroom C1. Students were able to filter through C1 with their registration card, and with their registration card, they were able to walk to the table, signed in, and then walk over to the voting machines to vote for president, vice president, secretary, or treasurer.
The kids were ecstatic about doing this because they realized at that moment how important it was. The candidates were campaigning. They made posters, campaign posters, and they were going out giving speeches.
Hello, my name is Nathan T, and I am running for Student Council President.
Students were allowed to campaign, so we recorded some campaign ads for our morning television news show, RSIA Today. Those ads rotated and aired daily, just as if it would have been for the November elections. We actually got the ticket from the Board of Registrations. They print a ticket with all the results from the polls. So we got the poll report, and then we created that and turned that into a graphic and shared the results of the election that way.
The votes are in.
I think one of the things that's maybe not surprising, it kind of reinforced the reason why we're doing this, is how many people there are that are not engaged in the process because they've either lost faith in the system or they don't believe that their vote counts. And they pass that on to young people, such that young people now feel as though, what difference does it make if I vote or not vote? And that's who we're trying to work with, so we can change that kind of thinking and perhaps even get them to re-engage their caregiver or their parents or other adults in the whole process.
I wanted to run for president because I feel like I would have been a good candidate for president. So I ran, and I had to do a speech to go on our daily news. And so after I did the speech, I waited about a week or two. And then we voted, and I got the paper like everyone else did, and I had to do the paper, and I got my card, and we went to go vote, and obviously I voted for myself. So I usually see, like, my parents usually tell me, oh, I'm gonna go vote, and I always wonder, like, what is it like? So to actually get the experience and actually use it, it felt real.
During the project, the students where I was kind of helping out at the booth, they kind of came over and asked, was it the poll that their parent actually used? So it kind of gave them that real life experience of what mom and dad do during the voting time.
In the past, what we have done is work with our aging population. We went out to nursing and assisted living homes, registering people, educating the residents there on voting in our county, and making sure that they were all ready for major elections. And we've been doing that for several years now, and it's been very successful. And we are also planning to do it, continue to do it for our citizens. In the high school, during general election years, we go out to the high school 16 and 17-year-olds, and we train them on becoming poll managers, and they participate with us during our general elections, working the precinct as a poll manager. And these are some of the brightest kids that we have working at those precincts, working with our citizens.
But the part that was most, I think, important for the young people was to actually have them vote. Many of them had never seen a voting machine. They obviously, because of their ages, had not voted. So Wendell was very accommodating in coming in and doing a tutorial with those young people and explaining the process.
The staff, they were just excited as the students. The social studies teachers had the opportunity to teach some of the lessons and just to show where things were in the 50s and 60s and how voter registration drives came about. It takes every vote that's out there versus just me saying, you know what, I'm not going to vote today. So with us instilling this authentic lesson in life of being able to vote, we hope that it resonates throughout their lives so that when it's time for them to vote at 18, they make it as meaningful as possible and take it seriously so that they can do what's best for them and for the country.